Louis?
He's ready.
We're on another trip this weekend. This time we're off down to Runswick Bay. We're just coming across the top of the boat, Farley Dales. The plan is we're going to go to the campsite at Runswick Bay, quickly park up the camper van, and then we're going to walk down the Cleveland Way down to Staithes, down the coastal path, have some lunch in Staithes, maybe a beer or two, and wander back, maybe back down the coastal path or back through the woods. There's two routes you can do on there. Back to the camper van, have some tea in the camper van tonight, and then tomorrow we'll go down to the bay itself. It's a lovely bay at Runswick. I'm going to take the kayak out and do a bit of fishing. The emphasis is definitely on the fishing and not the catching, while Louis chases the ball around the beach and down to play. Here we are on the Cleveland Way. Behind us you can see Runswick Bay. It's a lovely day. Nice blue sea today. That's Port Mulgrove down there. The tide's in at the moment, but it's a great place for fossiling. There's some interesting little fishing huts down there. There was a path and some steps to get down, but it's all fallen away. And here we are, the final path down into Staithes. It's a really nice day. It must be about 70 degrees today, if not more. How hot do you reckon it is, Joe?
80.
Do you reckon as much as that?
Yeah, it's very warm, isn't it? It's not, no wind. No breeze, is there?
It's a nice view down into there, isn't it?
Yeah, stunning.
I think there's 4 pubs here. Shall we have a pint in each one?
What, and get the bus home?
No, walk back. This gap between the houses here, I was told by a local in the pub another time we was here that when there was kids and it was really cold weather, they used to sneak down here and squeeze themselves in between the 2 fireplaces to keep warm as they was playing out on a night. So what do you have to say about this place?
Oh, I love it. It's really good. We hear a lot, don't we? Cod and lobster, Staithes. The chips are the best chips in the world. Here.
You said that about the Lister Rams, didn't you?
What, specifically about the chips?
Oh, right. Lister Rams is still the best pub in the world, is it?
Yeah, but
compared
this is the best chips in the world, and this has got this view.
to the Land Lake.
Nice.
What do you reckon, Lou? Louis?
You can have a chip, Lou.
Are you happy now?
Best chips. Really nice chips.
Louis got an interest. Do you reckon, Lou? Do you approve? 30 seconds later. Did you enjoy that? Was you hungry? So we have some chips. Should we have a beer in this one as well?
No.
No? So we're on our way back. We was going to go through the woods, but it's still a lovely, lovely day. Still lovely and warm, so we decided to follow the same route back across the cliffs, part of the Cleveland Way.
He's finally having his yoghurt, or whatever it is. It's a dog treat. It's cooling him down. It was so hard before he couldn't eat it, but it's melted a little bit.
You like that, don't you, Lou?
Isn't that nice? That'd cool you down, won't it?
It is really impressive, the North Sea. It's not particularly wide, it's not particularly deep. I think the maximum depth you can get is about 50-60 metres. The amount of power in that sea is amazing, particularly if there's a northerly or northeasterly winds. It really does. And the effect on the cliffs is tremendous. It's really good for diving as well, if the visibility is okay. If it's been flat weather for a while, there's over 1,000 wrecks between Spurn Point and Bridlington Bay. I have to have quite a few of those over the years, particularly when I work for a diving company, and there's everything out there from submarines, fishing boats, trawlers, all sorts of things, even some aeroplanes. There's still quite a bit of fishing industry in the North Sea. Around the Yorkshire coast it's mainly crabs and lobsters, and when we was younger and when I worked for the diving company, we used to go out with some of the lobster fishermen, or the crab pot fishermen, and they used to pay us to retrieve pots that had got caught in wrecks. So they'd have us pay us by pot, or they'd give us lobsters and crabs as part of bringing the pots back up for them to save them money. We even used to go out with some of the old-fashioned cobbles, diving off the cobbles, trying to catch or locate fishing pots, particularly off Hornsea, Withensea and Bridlington. But there's still up and down the coast quite a few places that are out potting, and I don't know if it's the same now, but in those days, depending on the weather conditions, the price of crabs and lobsters used to go up and down. So many fishermen used to have holding pots, so they'd catch as many as they possibly could and then store them in holding pots out at sea, or bring them in, and in the garages that have filtration systems in water tanks to hold them till the price went up again. I think most of it went abroad. One of the diving trips we went on, and this was probably mid-80s, it was just at the end of the miners' strike, and we was probably 15-20 miles off Hornsea. We was diving on a wreck, and we was just fishing for crabs and lobsters on the wreck as we was diving, and we did a bit of rod fishing afterwards. And as we was clearing up to leave the wreck site, a old trawler come by, and this trawler was full of miners from West Yorkshire, and we had a yarn with them and was trying to find a particular wreck. Now you got to remember, in this time there was no GPS, or we didn't certainly have GPS, we couldn't afford it, so you used to use Decker systems and dead reckoning, so you use landmarks, but being 15-20 miles off, you really had to have good visibility. So we'd done remarkably well to actually find this wreck using depth sounders and dead reckoning. So we put these miners onto this wreck and we quite happily went ashore. And in those days, because we had a unreliable engine and quite often got brought in by the RNLI, we used to radio the Coast Guard before we went out, tell them where we was going, and also tell them what time we was coming back in. So it was just about a mile off the beach, and I put a call into the Coast Guard and told them we was coming back in, all was well. And the Coast Guard said one of the officers from the Coast Guard will meet us on the beach. I thought, that's a bit interesting, that's unusual. So anyway, as we got to the beach, tractor come up, put the boat on the trailer, got the boat into the compound, Coast Guard come across. What have you been doing, lads? So I said, well, we've been out to a wreck 15-20 miles off, we think it's this wreck. Just got a few crabs and lobsters, they're all in size, did a bit of fishing. Wow, what's the problem? He said, oh, that wreck is very near to the gas pipeline, and we've had a call from the gas company that all the sensors have been going off, the trauma sensors on the gas pipeline, and we think somebody's been using explosives on it. So we reassured them, and they had a good look around our boat and everything we had, that it wasn't us who was involved with it. But obviously what had happened is these miners had gone out in this old trawler with some plastic explosive, blown bits of the wreck off for salvage. I don't know if they ever got caught, but we certainly didn't grass on them. But we used to have some great times there, and you think about it nowadays, you know, the safety element of actually going out there is certainly improved, and being able to find things out there. All those wrecks out there are all charted, so they're relatively easy to find. Most of them don't have any things on, or the war graves, and need to be respected, but they're certainly good habitats for crabs and lobsters and for fishing off. And plenty of people still do dive in the North Sea. We don't do it now, we've sold our dive boat, but we do go every so often on the odd occasion if we get invited out to do something, but not as much as we used to.
Here we are, back at the campsite. Pleased to see the camper van still there.
What are you reading?
I'm reading this book by Stefan Abratat. It's quite interesting, really. I agree with his philosophy on the use of carrier bags, but I don't agree with his description of people who drive Range Rover. Very good though. You should read it. It's about a guy who lives in Scarborough doing a tour round and while camping with his bike and his trailer, and what he gets up to.
Do you realise you've got them funny glasses on?
I like my 50p glasses. 50p then?
They're awful.
I can see the words though. What's wrong with them?
You should have gone to Specsavers.
50p. Oh, they've got a big scratch in the middle as well. Oh dear. 50p do the job. Yorkshireman.
Dear me. What do you think, Louis? What do you think? Them glasses are awful, aren't they?